Hello, my name is Julie Malcolm, and this is my story regarding defamation of character by my University of the West Indies Research Supervisor, Professor of Linguistics, Hubert Devonish, and the extent to which a Supreme Court judge of Jamaica, Judge Vaughan Smith, acted with loyalty toward Professor Devonish and blocked my right to protection under the Defamation Act of Jamaica. I will be presenting you with a series of documents that were created by Professor Hubert Devonish that will prove to you that the Defamation Act was indeed breached in my case and that the judge ruled unconstitutionally in this matter. Let's begin with a character reference written by Professor Hubert Devonish on the 18th of April 2016. It's on the university letterhead. It says reapplication by Miss Julie Malcolm for Governor General's Award. Just a backstory to this. I was involved with the Jamaica Cultural Development Commission, JCDC, over the years, from high school straight through to my adulthood. And as a result, the then parish manager had informed me that there was a special section in the Governor General's Award category for that particular year, and she suggested that I would meet the criteria for the award, therefore I should apply. And along with the application, I needed some references. So against that background, I approached Professor Hubert Devonish for a reference, and he wrote this letter. 18th of April 2016. I have known Miss Julie Malcolm since 2004, when she became a student in the Department of Language, Linguistics and Philosophy at the University of the West Indies. She was a student in linguistics courses which I taught, in particular language planning, which involved a great deal of social engagement. She subsequently did the Master of Arts in English Language, for which I was the program coordinator. Currently, she is the graduate research student in our department, and I am the supervisor of her MPhil thesis. During our long association, I have had ample opportunity to get to know Miss Malcolm in a range of situations and contexts. The first aspect that strikes one is that she is driven to do her best to achieve not just for herself but for her community. She is impatient to make a difference. The fact that she is intelligent, creative, and very adaptable puts her in a position to actually deliver on her projects and plans. When she talks about her students, their problems, and their successes, she speaks with passion. It is clear that she is dedicated to their educational and personal development and would do anything to help them achieve this. Her interest extends beyond young people, however, to broader social justice. Her determination to research the language communication problems faced by witnesses from Tivoli Gardens during the Commission of Inquiry proceedings is a demonstration of this. She is very much a language activist and feels that speakers of the Jamaican who may not have control of English nevertheless deserve all the rights that other citizens of Jamaica enjoy. Miss Malcolm is very much a hands-on community activist with a burning desire to change things. Her talent and ability give her the capacity to make her dreams become reality. She has a fixity of purpose and a personal integrity rooted in pursuing the interests of others, which I deeply admire. I certainly do think that she would make an appropriate awardee. Yours sincerely, Hubert Devonish, Professor of Linguistics, Department of Language, Linguistics and Philosophy, the University of the West Indies, Mona Campus, Jamaica. I want us to pay attention to a few sentences that I will pull from this letter. Let's look at the final sentence of paragraph 1. Currently, she's a graduate student in the department and I am the supervisor of her MPhil thesis. Look at the final sentence in paragraph 2. The fact that she is intelligent, creative, and very adaptable puts her in a position to actually deliver on her projects and plans. Let's look at sentence 3. of paragraph 3. Her determination to research the language communication problems faced by witnesses from Tivoli Gardens during the Commission of Inquiry proceedings is a demonstration of this. And sentence 4, she is very much a language activist and feels that speakers of the Jamaican who may not have command of English nevertheless deserve all the rights other citizens of Jamaica enjoy. The final paragraph, sentence 2. Her talent and ability give her the capacity to make her dreams become a reality. And sentence 3 of paragraph 4, she has a fixity of purpose and a personal integrity rooted in pursuing the interests of others, which I deeply admire. When you consider this letter by Professor Hubert Devonish, do you get the impression that he's talking about a research student who is incompetent? Or do you get the impression that he's speaking about a student that he has personal academic relationship with, and as a result, he's saying this is a student who is able to deliver on her projects and her plans? I remember the first time I read this letter, I literally cried, and I called Prof and I said, "Sir, your letter made me cry." And his response amounted to, "It's all true. I just wrote the truth." And this is actually true. I did enter you in 2004. Prof Devonish did teach me language planning. I earned an A during my undergraduate years. Prof Devonish was indeed the coordinator of the master's program, the Master's in English Language program that I completed. The coordinator to student ratio was about 1:8. There were about 8 or 9 of us in that program. What Prof Devonish neglected to mention, however, was that also in the MPhil program, not only did he serve as my research supervisor, but he also was the lecturer for my research methods course. I earned an A from him. He was one of the key presenters for the ethics course that we had to do. I don't think it had a grading system assigned to it. It was like a pass or fail thing, not an ABC kind of grade. But he was the chief lecturer involved in that as well. So whenever Professor Hubert Devonish taught me at the undergraduate level or the graduate level, I would always earn an A. There was one situation where another lecturer taught the course, but Prof Devonish in the master's program marked the work. For that, I earned a B+. So either he's my lecturer or my program coordinator or my research supervisor. But whenever I did any course related to any linguistics program to which Professor Hubert Devonish was affiliated, my grade would either be an A or a B+. Not by force, legitimately earned. If Prof Devonish has ever graded any paper for you, any exam, any coursework, you know he's considered to be very stingy with his grades. So the grade that you got is either the grade that you deserved, or you could have possibly been given a higher grade had another lecturer marked the paper, but your grade would never be less. He doesn't give away grades like that, based on my personal experience since 2004. So this is a 3rd degree program that Prof Devonish and I would have any interaction regarding. So, and based on what he has written here, I'm competent to deliver on projects and plans associated with my research degree. And he mentioned MPhil in this letter because how that university organizes the PhD program. they don't allow you to step from any level directly into their PhD program. So even though I had a master's degree and an undergraduate degree from the University of the West Indies, they still required that I register as a Master of Philosophy student, leading toward a PhD status in linguistics. So that's what I did. And this letter is on the exhibit list filed the 23rd of June 2020, and it's labeled Exhibit JM3. So Judge Vaughan Smith had access to this document as it relates to defamation, the Defamation Act, and what Professor Devonish actually thought of me. We move now to Exhibit JM, filed on the 23rd of June 2020. And it's a thread of emails proving that Professor Hubert Devonish had arranged for me to receive a departmental award at the University of the West Indies. Backstory: my Master of English degree was completed in August of 2014. The very next day, September 2014, I began my MPhil PhD degree. I would have taken some courses between September 2014 and summer 2015. At the end of summer 2015, I completed all the requirements of the university. I only needed to complete my research and graduate. But I was without a research supervisor. I still had not been appointed one, though I was in the program for a solid year. So I approached Professor Hubert Devonish and asked if he would serve as my research supervisor, given that of all the lecturers who were remaining on campus, he had the most comprehensive knowledge of who I was as a student. And he had a passion for Jamaican Creole and the elevation and promotion of Jamaican Creole in public formal domains. And that was what my research was heavily hinged on. So as a result of that, I approached him and requested that he serve as my supervisor. He invited me to join his consultation sessions on Fridays. So he had this private academic space at his home, not too far from campus. So his students, I understood at the time, would trek up to that area and they would have consultation sessions every single week. That was the session to which he invited me. So from summer 2015, I had been engaged in the sessions. I would listen to him and how well he interacted with students, what the discussion was like, what the interpersonal relationship was like. So there was healthy discussion. I attended that session throughout the whole summer, unless there was an emergency or a public holiday. You know, we Jamaicans, we find every reason to celebrate. So we have a lot of holidays. So unless there was a public holiday or some kind of emergency, we would be present in that room, in that session, every single Friday from summer 2015. When the new school year started in September 2015, the University of the West Indies still neglected to appoint me a research supervisor. They gave no reasons for their decisions. They just kept denying me a supervisor. Determined to continue and to hurry up and continue, because at the time I was a full-time teacher. I was engaged in this program part-time. So I was using my teaching salary to fund this degree. It was taking a bit out of me, and so I decided to end as quickly as possible. I suspected, based on the work I had left to do, I would have been able to complete the research within 2 years and graduate in 2018. But that did not happen. It's 2022 and I still have not completed. I still have not graduated. So in 2015, the UN neglected to provide me with a supervisor. At the end of that first semester, toward December 2015, I asked Professor Devonish again, I need a formal appointment of a supervisor if it is that I am going to move forward. will you commit to serve? He asked me to write a letter to the university requesting him to serve as supervisor. I did. I drafted the letter, copied him on it, sent it to the university. The university agreed. And in January 2016, Professor Hubert Devonish was formally appointed to be my supervisor. This reference letter that I just read was written in April 2016. We're going to move now to how my tuition was paid while I was not working and studying full-time. 2 actions were taken, and these are exhibited in support of an affidavit I filed on the 23rd of June 2020. They are labeled Exhibit JM6 and JM4. Now, JM6 is a series of emails which prove that it was Professor Hubert Devonish who recommended and arranged for me to receive the departmental award that allowed for full-time study, a waiver of tuition. I still had to pay about $15,000 each year for miscellaneous fees, but the tuition associated with full-time research study at the university was waived. So it was Prof. Devonish who did that. Would he have done this if he did not believe that I was capable of delivering on my research projects and plans? No, I think not. And in addition to that, a letter of comfort, as he called it, was sent to my then employer, Excelsior High School, where it was outlined that as a full-time student at the University of the West Indies, I was in pursuit of a Master of Philosophy in Linguistics with the option of upgrading to a Doctor of Philosophy in Linguistics. And as part of the writing across the curriculum program within the Faculty of Science and Technology, the university had granted me a departmental award as a full-time research student for the 2016-2017 academic year. This continued until 2019. So for 3 years, I had this departmental award. They would pay me a stipend, and the sole purpose of this was to improve English language proficiency among intermediate and final year science students within the Faculty of Science and Technology. And this was signed by the then head of department, Dr. Lawrence Bamikole. Would the university have allowed me to attend for 3 years without paying tuition if they had no confidence in me that I was able to create and execute a research plan leading to a PhD in forensic linguistics? Would the UWI, the University of the West Indies that you know, do that? I think not. In addition to that, I want to draw your attention to Exhibit JM4. Exhibit JM4 is my contract. Would you believe me if I told you that while Professor Hubert Devonish was writing his May 11th, 2017 letter, where he defamed me and defrauded the university into believing that I was actually incompetent to conduct proper linguistics research and proper analysis of linguistics research, would you believe that he was paying me $70,000 per month to perform the very same skills he claimed I did not have for his personal research? Check out Exhibit JM4, dated September 16th, 2016, signed by Professor Hubert Devonish and 2 witnesses who were employees of the Jamaican Language Unit. It says, "Dear Miss Julie Malcolm, The International Center for Caribbean Language Research, ICCLR, through the Jamaican Language Unit, JLU, would like to offer you the opportunity to work as a graduate research assistant for the language education project under the terms and conditions below. Work to be undertaken. 1. Translate and broadcast news report for Broadcast Jamaican. Assist in the creation of Jamaican as a foreign language course. Duration. The period of this contract shall be from September 2016 to August 2017. Performance standards. The contract holder undertakes to perform all assignments with the highest standards of professional and ethical competence and integrity. Remuneration. During this period, you will be paid an all-inclusive sum of $70,000 Jamaican dollars per month. This contract is 3 pages long. Signed by Professor Hubert Devonish. It ran from September 2016 to August 2017. It was May 2017 when Professor Hubert Devonish, though he had no complaints about this contract and my ability to carry out my duties under this contract, which required the same higher order thinking skills, critical thinking, analysis, synthesis, you name it. The same skills that were required for me to locate local, regional, and international news in English, translate that in writing to Jamaican, summarize it, and present it, read it live on air at the time on the university's preferred radio station. And to assist in the creation of a whole university course. I was employed to do that. I was actually paid to do that. In the same month when Hubert Devonish was defaming me and stealing my research, using defamation as the vehicle through which he would steal my research and tell the university, oh, she doesn't have the competence to create this research. You know, it's actually mine. This is what I wanted to convince her to do, but she's too dumb to understand it. Therefore, she doesn't have the competence to complete this research. While he was doing that, he was paying me $70,000 per month to do the same work, to perform the same analytical skills required for his personal research. Heights of wickedness, heights of insanity, or both. Satan has nothing on him. Lucifer has nothing on him. This document, the work contract where I was employed to Hubert Devonish, is on the exhibit sheet attached to the affidavit filed on the 23rd of June 2020. It is labeled JM4 on that exhibit list. Can we move to another piece of evidence? Not only did Professor Hubert Devonish recommend my linguistic abilities locally at the University of the West Indies in terms of securing employment after I had left my full-time job on his advice to study full-time so I could finish quickly. Not only did he allow for the University of the West Indies to engage me in the writing across the curriculum program, that research project of one of their subsequent department heads, McLean, Dr. Ingrid McLean, which I held for 3 years. Upwards of 2 years after, Professor Devonish said I was not competent to engage in linguistic activities at the university level. I was there teaching. In addition to local recommendations in the field of linguistics, there was a gentleman in Switzerland. There is a Jamaican thesaurus, the first and only Jamaican thesaurus that I'm aware of. He was in Switzerland at the time. I can't recall if he's actually Swiss or American. I can't recall at this point. So he was publishing a thesaurus. He was compiling and publishing a thesaurus focusing on Jamaican Creole. If you have never seen it, if you don't have a copy, get a copy. If you have any interest in learning the Jamaican language, analyzing Jamaican to English interactions, then you need to get a copy of this thesaurus. He was in need of proofreaders who were competent, fluent in Jamaican Creole, in the translation of Jamaican Creole to English and vice versa. So he needed persons who were fully bilingual in both Jamaican and English, persons who would have been able to read and write and speak both languages fluently. Prof. Devonish, of all the students in the university, Prof. Devonish recommended me to this gentleman on this amazing project. And seriously, if you do not have a copy of this book, it's on Amazon. It's affordable. It's a collection piece, something that you can actually use. No, I do not benefit financially in any way from it. I was simply recommended to be a proofreader, /editor, to ensure that the use of Jamaican, the expression of Jamaicanness in the language was authentic. Of all the students in the university, Prof. Devonish recommended me. Prof. Devonish recommended Julie Malcolm. I spoke with the gentleman. It seemed to be a very worthwhile project. I accepted the offer. I participated in the offer. It was pleasing to the author of the book, and I was paid. Would Professor Devonish have done this? And this was 2016, summer of 2016. Would Professor Devonish have done this if he thought I was useless in the field of linguistics research? I think not. I think not. This is listed on the exhibit sheet supporting an affidavit I filed on the 23rd of June 2020. It's exhibited as JM8. There are 2 documents left. The original approval I received from Professor Devonish to do my research, you would recall when I read that character reference, the first piece of evidence I mentioned in this recording, Prof. Devonish said I had a deep interest in investigating the language communication challenges exhibited during the Tivoli inquiry that was televised nationally. I had improved on it because research is not static. You have a framework that you develop, but as you follow the research, as you think about your research. You sleep with it, you wake up with it, you dream about it every day, you work on it every day. Other thoughts will flood your mind, other ways of improving it. Questions that you had not initially asked, you'll now begin to ask, and you will seek to find answers to those questions. So research is not static. You go where the data leads. In the words of Professor Hubert Devonish, you follow the data, which was what I did. And I recall in my videos that were published in January of 2020 on this channel, Share Julie's Story, my YouTube channel, you would notice the backstory for that. I suspect this video is already too long, and I desire to shorten it. So I had written to Professor Hubert Devonish for approval to modify my research, to include a new research direction, new data, new plan of analysis. He had given that approval in the email thread dated August 6th to 8th, 2016. His exact words were, when I presented my new research thrust to him, his exact words were, "You have become quite the researcher. I will arrange blah, blah, blah for you to, as a part of your JLU duties," because at that point you mentioned I was employed to the JLU to complete his research, and that would have taken some time. So he would make arrangements for this to be so. And he said, "You might very well be able to incorporate it in your study." So I received approval from Professor Hubert Devonish to modify the thrust of my research. And the final document I want to draw your attention to, it is my final progress report that was written by Professor Hubert Devonish on the 10th of May. And I subsequently signed it on the 11th of May. So my research at this time would have been modified, and I would have presented my research to Professor Hubert Devonish because we were having challenges. He had grown increasingly disrespectful whenever he would communicate with me. And it is not a case where I wasn't doing my job. In fact, I created the research single-handedly. All Professor Devonish had to do was to type, "Yes, you have my approval." Or to sign a piece of paper, "Yes, you have my approval." There was nothing that he had to do. He did not have to stand behind me with a whip to say, "Do the work." I did not miss any deadlines. I went for consultations religiously every single Friday between summer 2015 and December 2016. Every single Friday, unless there was an emergency on either side or there was a public holiday that would allow the university to be closed. Throughout this time, there is never a bad report. There's nothing written. There is no warning. There is no reason to say this child is not doing her work. This student is not doing her work. There was no reason for reprimand. I had never been reprimanded. I had never been warned. Every document that I have read so far throughout this video indicates that he considered my work and my worth to be admirable. He considered me to be intelligent, creative, and adaptable to change my research when required in order for improvements to be made. These are Professor Devonish's exact words on the 10th of May. This is Exhibit JM2. Student had originally intended to focus on transcripts of the Tivoli inquiry. You saw that in the character reference letter from the 18th of April, 2016. Student had originally intended to focus on transcripts of the Tivoli inquiry using an experiment to triangulate findings. She decided to shift focus with my approval Student restructured study produced a very detailed experimental design and implemented same to collect the bulk of the data required for her study. Impressive progress. Under the word progress, the quality, the extent of this progress. They had excellent, very good, and poor. Professor Hubert Devonish ticked excellent. Below progress, the university had a recommendation. 3 options: student to continue, student to be warned, student to withdraw. Prof. Devonish ticked student to continue. So an academic relationship from 2004 to 2017. This academic relationship covered a 3-year undergraduate program, an 18-month Master of English Language program that was mixed with finalizing exams and 40% research papers. So I had to create several research papers in English, in linguistics, to complete that Master of English Language program. The Master of Philosophy leading to a PhD in Linguistics program. Prof. Devonish was my research supervisor. So either he was my lecturer, my program coordinator, or my research supervisor at the undergraduate level and the graduate level. And this relationship started for my undergraduate program began in 2004. This relationship ended in 2017 when I told Professor Hubert Devonish that I no longer desired to be supervised by him because he had no manners. And his interactions with me were tantamount to verbal, mental, and emotional abuse. I told Professor Hubert Devonish that I no longer desired to be supervised by him because he had no manners. And his interactions with me were tantamount to verbal, mental, and emotional abuse. And as a result, I was going to write to the university and ask them to appoint me another supervisor. After that conversation, on the 11th of May, Prof. Devonish sat down in his office on that same day and he wrote his famous May 11th 2017 letter, where he told the university for the first time since 2004, after all of his letters and recommendations and A's that I had earned from the courses that he taught, he told the university that I was not competent to complete any form of research in linguistics. All these documents were filed within the court system, not only on this affidavit, on this exhibit sheet, but on others. In my particulars of claim, filed the 14th of December 2017, on page 1.5, it clearly indicates that the defendant, Professor Hubert Devonish, has sought to discredit the analytical ability of the claimant, Julie Malcolm, by deceiving the University of the West Indies, and in effect defamed the claimant's character in the eyes of the university and other professionals within the academic space. So from the get-go, the breaches to the Copyright Act were not the only breaches that I was concerned with. I was also gravely concerned with my character. The University of the West Indies, based on how they supported Hubert Devonish and ignored my complaints and ignored my cries for help, it is evident that they have no desire to have me complete this PhD that I single-handedly created and Professor Hubert Devonish stole, and used defamation as the vehicle through which he would steal the research. Because think about it. He could not go ahead and publish the same research that I am publishing. He wanted it for himself. And he knew that if he allowed me to select a new supervisor, I would go ahead and publish said research before him, and he would have no access to it because he would have no access to me. I would not be consulting with him on a weekly basis. And so the only way for him to walk away with my research is to kick me out of the program and prevent me from entering any other program. So he had to speak to my competence. So 2004 to 2017, that would be what? 13 years, 3 academic programs, 1 undergraduate and 2 graduate programs, where there is no indication, no complaint, no warning, no grade below a B+ directly from Hubert Devonish. All of a sudden, 24 hours after he wrote this progress report, he wrote this in this. "24 hours after he wrote this progress report, where he said, impressive progress, excellent, student to continue." And I want to draw your attention to the fact that he mentioned in this. I created this very detailed experimental design so I could triangulate my findings. It means that I would be using multiple sources and doing a comparative analysis with all the sources combined to arrive at the best possible result. If my research is designed using the approach of comparative analysis, triangulation of sources, there is no way Hubert Devonish can tell you in his May 11th letter that I am just taking the word of one random police officer and using it. And that's dumb, and he thought it's dumb, and I couldn't understand otherwise. His words in his May 11th letter could not possibly be true based on my actual research that's detailed in my 28-page analytical plan that is also filed in the court system and included in my particulars of claim, page 2, item A. as a document on which heavy reliance would be placed. In addition to that, JM11, that popular document that keeps going missing, whether I try to collect it physically from the court office or I'm sitting in a hearing and Judge Vaughan Smith is declaring that the document is nowhere to be found, even though Hubert Devonish's attorney has it as a copy and I have a copy. The judge can't find it, never seen it. And it's on all sorts of exhibit lists. So documents that I have mentioned, that I have shown to you, clearly indicate what Hubert Devonish thinks about me and has thought about me since 2004. All these documents were compiled by me and filed in the court system, either through my then attorney or through another bureau. They're all there. How is it possible that Judge Vaughan Smith would examine all these documents and come to the conclusion that I do not qualify for protection under the defamation laws of Jamaica, the Defamation Act of 2013, simply because I'm a student? Isn't that discrimination? Isn't the judge discriminating against me? You can't say that I am a student, therefore I do not deserve protection. Since May 18, 2021, Judge Vaughan Smith declared that he had not seen the documents which were specified in my particulars of claim as documents on which I would place heavy reliance. And he has seen no affidavit and no exhibit list which detailed certain documents on which I placed heavy reliance. That proved, in no uncertain terms, in Hubert Devonish's own handwriting, from his own cellular telephone, from his own personal email, which proves that he's lying. And he's a thief. And he's wicked. And all these documents that I presented to you, they were presented to Judge Vaughan Smith. He claimed he never saw them, but still he felt that he had the legal right to sit and preside over a hearing, when he had no knowledge of what documents had been filed and what documents had not been filed. And to make matters worse, from May 18th until now, Judge Vaughan Smith has refused to present to the Supreme Court, so I can access it, the justifications for his decision. Each time I contact the Supreme Court or the Court of Appeal, I am told the justifications of the judge are not available, when the Constitution states that all court sessions are public. All decisions, all justifications for decisions should be made available to the public. I am the one involved in the case. And Judge Vaughan Smith has made a decision that is unconstitutional. And all he's willing to share is that decision. So he's flouting the law, has scant regard for the Constitution of Jamaica. And the entire Supreme Court sits there in their offices, where my documents, some of these very documents that were filed, have gone missing. And I know they have gone missing because when I select a bearer and ask the bearer to pay for copies, the bearer receives an envelope with a few printed documents and a stack, half a ream almost, of blank sheets. So you're throwing out my documents, Supreme Court, and you have a judge employed. You have a judge who thinks he's above the Constitution. And the judicial clerk keeps reiterating what Judge Von Smith is saying, that he's not going to make the justifications for his ruling, written justifications for his ruling, available to me. And neither is he allowing for the transcripts of that online hearing to be made available to me. So I can't get the printed transcripts, and I can't get the justification for the ruling of the judge. But this is a courthouse, and this is Jamaica that is supposed to be ruled by law. And you expect us to go forward. What kind of bandolo kangaroo court this? Chief Justice Brian Sykes, DPP Paula Llewellyn, you have the authority to intervene in any court case at any level. Court Administration Division, my initial report that was made to you still says pending, and the link to the documents has been hacked and the documents deleted. Hence these videos. Documents you need are in this video on the breaches to the Defamation Act. It's in the other video, my previous video, on breaches to the Copyright Act. And there's also another video on evidence tampering within the offices of the Supreme Court and the Court of Appeal, Jamaica. Chief Justice Brian Sykes, DPP Paula Llewellyn, Court Administration Division. Please intervene. I'm Julie Malcolm, and this is my story.